This is NTV.
Hello viewers, a good afternoon to you. It's again the Business X-Ray Show here on NTV Uganda. This show is sponsored by Enterprise Uganda in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. And it's a show that, of course, looks at how we can do business, of course, through the experience or experiences of those that already sit in the business world or space. I'm Charles Boyd, your host, and tonight or this evening in the studios we have a very quite grounded entrepreneur in the area of services. And as you've seen on our banners, we are looking at the area of tour and travel, and he's going to share with us his experience in business. But most importantly, we all understand and appreciate what the tourism industry has been going through, or the travel industry has been going through, and we need to pick, or we're going to be picking lessons from his experiences on how he has managed to weather the storm, stay in business, but even before then, how he managed to build his business. But that's a while later. Please join me in welcoming Ronald Mukasa from Enterprise Uganda. Of course, he's our coach for today. As usual, he's going to help us put into context some of these submissions from our guest in the studio. Ronald, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Charles, for that kind introduction. Viewers, thank you for joining us for the show today. The Business X-Ray, it's always an honor when you take off time and you join us. We discuss business. Business journeys are different, and we are always excited when we have a different entrepreneur in a different sector who comes and shares with us and advises us on how we can do business better. But I think the key message is that all of us who are running businesses, all of us who are trying to start businesses, there are key success factors, and that's what this show is about, to help us find those key success factors, but most importantly, to get us to implement them in our businesses.
Very important. I like the implementation part. Sometimes we get the messages so well and so right, but then getting it off the ground becomes another issue altogether. Exactly. Good. Our guest today is none other than Hilary Iga. You're most welcome to the show. Just in a few, you can introduce yourself properly to our viewers.
Thank you, Mr. Boji, for hosting us. My name is Bachinjogera James Hilary Iga, and I'm the CEO of Daylight Travel Consults, which grew to become Daylight Group because we have now some other businesses that we do along with it. Okay. You know what happened in the world. Things changed, and definitely we had to also change and adopt to the new world order when it comes to finance and economics. So greetings to you viewers. I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to a very educative and informative show.
Beautiful. We are glad to have you. Viewers, we're going to have a short montage, as it is our habit, to just break it down, to find out what Hilary is doing, and then we'll come back to the studio and put all that in context. So I'm going to ask my producer to just play for us that clip, and then we set the discussion going.
I was a desperate young man that failed to get employment in the formal sector. And like so many people who get out of education and then they can't find a place to be employed, many times because the skills that we don't have are not applicable in the marketplace, other times because the competition is too stiff. So after so many years of suffering and frustration and desperation, I was lucky. I fortuitously got a call from a friend of mine that had started a travel company and invited me to work with them, and that was the beginning of my journey into the travel and tourism sector. We started when the industry was still virgin, and there were a few players back then, and there was a lot of lack of information among people, and that was an opportunity that whoever would be with a good service and would ensure that the quality of service they are rendering to their customers is to the dot, they were very sure that their businesses would grow. And that is how we grew. We served one customer who referred another customer who referred another. You could find that one customer would bring you like 10 customers in a year. And over the years, that is how we've grown, because we decided that we're going to put an emphasis on making sure that we give our customers the best experience, and we relieve them of all the stress and worries that they would have when they were arranging their travel. So that is how people became comfortable with working with us. Definitely they trusted us because we showed them that we were reliable, because at the time when we entered into the business, people were complaining of fraudsters, people who would sell them air tickets that don't exist in the system. So we spotted a few gaps here and there, and those are the ones that we measured and took advantage of to grow the business to where we had reached before COVID. Like I've told you that we have core values as a company. We believe in integrity, we believe in reliability, we believe in caring and going an extra mile to make sure that we please our customer. We always look forward to how we can amuse our customer and how we can give more value to them than what they've paid for. And in that, we make sure that before we prioritize earning that $1 or $5 or $10 from the person, we've given them great value for their money. And that is how people become comfortable working with us, and that is how people go and market on our behalf, talk to their friends, because that is, like I've told you, that is how we've grown. That it has been people that we've built a relationship with, those that have fallen in love with our brand, those that went out to see that they help us as young people to grow, to become better, to support us to earn a living, but at the same time, when they are satisfied with the service and the quality of service that we're rendering them. But to tell you about our sector, I can tell you that what I've seen, the pain that we have had to endure as people in this sector, is the pain that I had to go through before I got the opportunity to be employed. I've been embarrassed, I've been frustrated, I've spent sleepless nights because of the pains that came with COVID. So many people might look at us and see how we're surviving and think it is easy. It is something. COVID happened when nobody expected it. I'm one of the person that believed that probably it was just a simple flu and it wouldn't take long. And I was a very strong proponent of, okay, let us lock down for 1 month or two, but never expecting that it would go and drag all that long. But the effects of COVID have stung us to the core. Before COVID happened, we had debts, we had people that we had given services to, and we are demanding them money. And we are expecting and counting on this cash flow for people to pay us so we can be in position to also settle our creditors. But I can tell you that when COVID hit, we lost all the money that was outstanding and in debt. But yet the people that were demanding us, the creditors, our suppliers, the people that had given us money to buy them services, they expected us to pay them back when we had lost everything. So we found ourselves in an imbalance where we've lost everything, but yet we're supposed to dig from wherever to find the means of settling and paying off our creditors. It was a surprise to everybody. And because nobody knew how long it would take, we wanted to even maintain our team. Before COVID hit, we had like 6 permanent employees. and we had about 5 casual employees that used to earn from this company. And everybody was happy. They had families, they had responsibilities, and COVID came. And it was very painful on me as an employer, looking at my colleagues, my team, my staff, starving, because now everybody was trying to look for survival. And they wanted the portion as I wanted it. They had obligations as I had them. So we tried to make means of how everybody would survive. We started small ventures here and there. We gave them a few handouts that we could afford, because we thought that it is something temporary. It is going to spend 3 months or 2 months, and then probably we would be okay and get back to office. But when it got prolonged, it became unsustainable. It is not easy to build an organization. And you cannot build an organization without good human resource, without people. And it takes time for you to build that team, inculcate a great culture that can grow your business. So when things change, like COVID happened, and you lose everybody that was credible, everybody that knew what to do, whether in your presence or not, then seeing yourself when you have to look for new talent, to go through the same pain that you had to go through of teaching and training and inculcating the work ethic that you had grown in the people that have left the company, it is not easy. Starting from the grass, like we did, and then winning the hearts of customers and potential customers, and people entrusting your brand to serve them amidst all the competition, that alone is an achievement. The second thing is that I've attained enormous wealth of knowledge from the experiences that I've had to go through over the years of running this business. And the reason as to why I don't get scared, because you can never know if another COVID is going to hit. Some other bad thing might happen to this business. But now I'm no longer scared, because the greatest attainment that I've gotten through my journey is the experience and the knowledge that I've acquired along the way.
Thank you very much. That's the story of Hilary, viewers, and I think you now have an idea of who Hilary is and, of course, what he does. And we'll want you to be part of this discussion. So towards the end, in our last segment, we're going to, invite, as usual, your comments, questions, and suggestions, but especially the comments, because we understand that these are learning sessions, Ronald. And I know there are quite a number of business people that are watching this show and watch it with a notebook at hand. If you don't have any at the moment, I would encourage you to have one, because we're here to learn. And like we're saying before we came on air, COVID, and you've heard from the submission of Hilary, has really reset most of us. It's new beginnings. What do you have to say from, the digest that we've just heard from Hilary, Ronald, if I may start with you?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to congratulate Hilary that he's still here. I think there were a couple of industries which were hit directly. If your industry had the word travel on it, I don't think anyone who was in the travel industry ever imagined that travel would stop. Like, how do you close an airport? What would you be thinking to close an airport? So I think, and as I watched Hilary share his story, my mind went back to that period about the number of impossible things, which many of us said it couldn't. I mean, how do you close a city and say people stay at home? None of us would have pictured that. And as Hilary rightly put it, none of us even imagined that it could be for a long period of time. But I think when we come back to now, what is clear is that the pains of that period are sustained in the system. There are scars which many businesses are still dealing with, and those scars, I hope we'll have an opportunity to discuss them. But their scars still exist. It's clear that a number of people, for example, in the travel sector, had to leave the industry completely, and many haven't returned to the industry. It's clear that the customers have changed as a result of what happened. It is also clear that the entrepreneur has to look at business in a totally different perspective. When I listen to that season as an entrepreneur, when Hillary is trying to debate between who takes the little money which is available, do I take it or does my employee take it? And I think those are real, very specific pains that came out of the season. So I think for me, what comes out of this is, first of all, noticing that we are still in a period of recovery. It is a period of recovery. It's a season of recovery. Businesses are emerging from a difficult time, and sectors like travel possibly worse than others. Schools have reopened, and you can say, okay, that activity has started. But how do you get a tourist to believe again that I can travel and see the lovely gorillas which we saw? How do you get someone who was doing business to say, I want to go back and start my trade the way it was? Those are all very complex questions. So I think the last bit for me, the experience and the knowledge and the resilience which Hillary and many other entrepreneurs have built is actually the real asset which we have right now. Because entrepreneurs, there's something which Hillary said which I thought was powerful, that actually now I look at this business and I say anything could actually happen. And that, I think there were many before the COVID pandemic, many of us said these things can't happen to this business. At least they won't close the airport. What do you mean I don't have a customer for 3 years? But we are in an environment where that possibility is clearer to Hillary, that actually it's possible for the airport to be what? To be closed. It's possible for travel to be cancelled. So that for me is one of the key messages which is coming out, that there is a new way entrepreneurs are looking at business, a new resilience which has been built within entrepreneurs. And the many people who are listening to us who have had to let go of their businesses, it isn't a lost cause. Sometimes you have to pick yourself up and restart. Sometimes you may restart in a different sector. But that is what makes an entrepreneur different. The fact that when he takes a punch, he stands up again and he moves. And it is people like Hillary who are keeping the economy going, because they are pushing. They are pushing against tough realities. And it is that push which will help us emerge from this season.
Beautiful, well put. Now, Hillary, let me come back to you. I want to start near, a bit closer to where you began when you were narrating your story, how you began and how you went into, this particular industry. One of the things you mentioned, of course, you reminisce about the good days, when you came in, how easy things were, and then now, new reality, as Ronald has clearly put it, and as you alluded to it. So tell us, in your area, in your business, what does it take, or how do you build, because I want us to look at the solution side of things, which I think, again, Ronald there was trying to, probe into. How do you prepare for the bad times during the good times, if I may put it that way? How do you start to, put together something that can, take you there, or see you through when the storms arrive, based on your experience?
Thank you very much, Mr. Woji. One of the things that enabled me, that I would say enabled me and my team to build the company that we had built, is that we had gone through a lot of pain before getting the opportunity to be employed. And when we got a chance to be employed, we decided that we need to commit everything, all our energy, to making sure that we sustain this opportunity that we've got, never to lose it. And it is the diligence, it is the commitment, it is understanding that you have no other option apart from you seeking for survival from your business. But then things happen.
I hear you.
We grew this company. We were not where we desired to be, but we are progressive and we are profitable, and the company was making progress. But then things happened. Things changed. Whatever we had in plan, all the things that we had in plan had to crumble. And we, like I always tell people, it is not easy when you're out of it. But when you're in it, you get to learn what you must do, despite all the circumstances that hit you. So we grew a company that was very progressive. Our customers were happy. The numbers were becoming bigger, and we never expected what happened to us to happen to us.
I hear you. If you can paint for us a picture, in your good times, what clientele base were you looking at? I mean, without being specific, but in general terms, who were you serving? Where were you? You know,
Daylight Travel Consult is a travel agency that began in the market of the business people.
Okay.
We majorly serve the traders. The area of Nabugabo, downtown, Kampala Road and down, that is where we began. Over the years, we started expanding and getting into the corporate market. But our core clientele were the business people.
Okay.
It is the people, those are the people that we understood how to solve their problems, and we always tried to make sure that we provide solutions that would enable them to do business, so they can grow their businesses, because our sustainability depended entirely on their sustainability.
Beautiful.
So it is majorly the traders that we used to serve, and it is the ones, they are the ones that that grew us, that opened us to the world. They're the ones that gave us contacts in the corporate world to grow to where we had grown.
From the business kind of, perspective background, I'm sure there were reasons why you said, we're going to start with these guys. What was the driving force? Why did you choose that particular segment?
Like I've told you, I was, for me, I did project planning and management.
Okay.
But when I was stuck looking for employment and I couldn't get employed, fortuitously, a friend of mine called me and gave me this opportunity of working with him in the travel business. After some time, their company got a lot of issues. Some issues, they sold it to another proprietor, and so much changed. And some of us had to get out and start our own. And by the way, that is where I have to point out one of the things that are very critical. So many times as proprietor and employers, we tend to think that people must work for us. But yet sometimes when someone has worked with you, you give them an opportunity to learn the skill that they can apply and go elsewhere and start on their own, which can turn out to be that they can also employ other people. And that is how it happens. So most of the businesses that you see are people that were employed once, but after some time, they mastered what needed to be done. They ventured out, not in a bad way, because I wouldn't want to encourage employees to be bad behaved because they want to go and start on their own. No, but what I'm saying is it is really an opportunity, and employers must take it in a positive way, that when time comes, when the person has served you right, when they've done their due diligence committedly towards your company and helped you grow, if it is time for them to move on, you need to embrace it and allow them move on. So that is how we began. But now I was lucky that the people that invited me into this business started their business with the business community. And I was given the job of a salesperson. So I started venturing out and looking for sales, because my task was to look for business, to go out door to door, speak to people.
From the Basubuzi.
To the Basubuzi, all over. There's no arcade in town that I don't know. There's no street in town that I never went to. All in the name of looking for customers. But through that experience, through that practical movements and interacting with the business community, I learned the skills that are not acquired in school. The practical skills of it, how to relate with people, how to talk to people, how to make sure that people get interested in listening to you and be ready to pay you for whatever you're talking to them about. Definitely, it was it had a lot of pain, because you know, when you're a salesperson, salespeople know it, that you go through a lot of rejections that you have to accept. That not everybody is going to be interested in buying your product.
Probably by the time you make one sale, you've had about 50 rejections.
And that pain. So if you're not courageous enough, and if you never went through the pain that I went through, that committed me to say, even if I get 100 or 20 rejections, I'll still continue to push to look for that one person that will buy from me.
Beautiful. Hold it there. Ronald, I want you to bring you in on this point. Of course, before I again bring back Hilary to tell us what happened to his Basubus in this season. Yes. I don't know, what do you pick, from, that submission from Hilary?
I think one of the things which comes out clearly, and Hilary said this in both the montage and he has repeated it here, the idea of the pain before you get a job. It is, I think it speaks to a pain which many people are going through. There is a young person in every household who has done project management, has done SWASA, has done business administration, and they're saying, my door hasn't been opened.
Yeah.
My door hasn't been opened. And I think it's important for us to appreciate that many young people at that point, they are in a lot of pain because there is a promise the education system gave them, and that promise hasn't been fulfilled. And I think from what Hilary is saying, you would see that that's the pain he was moving with, and asking himself, why hasn't my job actually been what? Why does my job exist in this economy? So that's one of the first things. But I think what is key is what happened. Hilary says he got a call from a friend to come and work with him. Now, it's very important to notice that sometimes your job opportunity may come from an unlikely source, even sometimes seemingly unserious. Because I think Hilary may have wanted that the call comes from one of the big corporates, one of the big banks, one of the big telecom companies. That's a call you take seriously. But when a friend calls you and says, you know what, we have this travel gig which we are doing, come and work with me. For me, the lesson I pick there is Hilary took it seriously. He said, I'm going to respond to that call with the seriousness I would respond if NTV is the one which called me for a job. And I think it's very important for young people to notice that every opportunity you get to work, it might be in a supermarket, it might be in a kiosk, it might be in a travel company. And I don't know whether they gave him an appointment letter. I don't know whether he got one, but possibly he did get an appointment letter. But the person told him that, you know what, you come and what? And work. Now, most of us have defined what a job looks like. We know that a job, first of all, there is an interview, first interview, second interview, third interview. Then after those interviews, they will call you and say you have gotten the job. Then they will give you an appointment letter. Then they will give you an ID. Then they will give you an insurance card. I suspect most of those things did not happen to Hilary. But Hilary took the job with the seriousness it deserves. So you who is listening to us, you need to appreciate that when a door is, sometimes the doors that open are not very straightforward doors. They are not doors which you would traditionally say that this is a job I was looking for. But when a friend calls you and says, there is a maize mill where I am working, there is an opportunity to keep the books. The fact is that you have a degree in business administration, mastering in accounting. you need to take that job with a seriousness. Because if you don't take it seriously, your employer also won't take you seriously.
Yeah.
We noticed that possibly one of the best things which Hillary got from that first job was the experience of how to work with the business community where he created his business. He learned how to sell. He talked about accepting rejection. There is no university where they teach you how to accept rejection. The rejection, you have to deal with it. So the fact that you have to walk through that process, sometimes that opportunity is where you're going to get the job. So I see here, Hillary took the job seriously, and he used it as a platform to be able to even understand his own business. So a young person who is out there planning to start a business, sometimes the learning of how to start a business may come from you being a guide or one of the attendants in a supermarket, if you want to understand a supermarket. Because if you are seated there and being an attendant, you understand this is how they organize the items in the supermarket. This is how they procure. The milk comes early in the morning, not at night or the day before, because sometimes it goes bad. But these items, we keep them this way. The expired items, we need to, the ones which are about to reach the expiry date, we need to bring them closer so that they are consumed. All those you learn at that job. Now, this might not be a perfect job, but you need to make sure you use it as your platform. So the seriousness of your job doesn't depend on your employer. It depends on you who is taking the job.
Beautiful, beautiful. Here, let me get back to you. And I think those are very, very good talking points. So you begin. You've now, of course, went through the hustle, the experience. You've started working. Of course, I know as a young person, one of the challenges you're going to face is trust. Remember, you're in the service industry. And this is an industry where people give you their money in advance. I pay in anticipation that I'm going to travel next month. And I give you my money, you do my bookings and that kind of thing. How did you manage that? Because now you are standing on your own. You moved away from the other company. You're starting your own. Just walk us through that.
One of the things that I can pay credit to is the fact that I think my nurturing shaped me into somebody that is trustable.
Okay.
Somebody who understands that integrity is paramount in whatever you do. And one of the things that I think made it easy for people to trust me and trust my company, despite the fact that we were young and starting out, was the fact that for the few that interacted with us, at least they built that trust that would deliver on our promises.
Okay.
Like I told you that we entered into a market when there were a lot of people who were doing the job, some of them unprofessionally, some of them who just went there for the money, and now they end up duping people and cheating them and giving them, doing a lot of fraudulent things in the business. So when we presented ourselves to these people as people who are trustable, who are reliable, who know what to do, but at the same time who don't look at only getting the money from them but giving them a service, that is how we built this trust. Definitely with making sure that you take care of people's money. Because back then we didn't have the capital that you would go and use your own personal money and then deliver a ticket. People entrusted us with the money. They would give us the money. We used the very money they were giving us to go purchase tickets and then deliver.
So you were only sending them a promise and they could...
Yes, that is it. So it is from trust that we built that clientele. But then over the years, we got to understand how these people need their services to be done. All the traders, how they need to be served. And we streamlined our service. We made sure that we do follow-ups. We make sure that we go to, instead of somebody coming to our office, would reach out to them, would go to their shops and deliver the tickets physically. So we tried to play that role of the in-between between the airlines and the customer, and which brought convenience in the way they were receiving the service, and that over time became very convenient with them that they ended up trusting us to give us the referrals that they used to give us. And definitely we started now. For example, the first year, I remember that The first year in business, we had around 100 customers. And because I was thrilled by the trust and confidence that these people had given to us, we decided to host them for a small dinner. We bought a few goats here and there with the small company that we had, and we hosted them at one place called Obligato, I think. It's called Obligato. And these 100 people came. Imagine old people.
All of them turned up.
Old to be your fathers and mothers, to leave their businesses and say, let us go and see what these boys have to tell us. So, like, we had around 100, and like 95% of the people turned up. So we hosted them. We told them why we want them to support us. We told them that we had the commitment to give them a better service. Definitely, we appreciated them for the effort they had done to bring us a few customers here and there, and that thrilled them. And then the next year, we saw tremendous growth because the people had really, really gotten the confidence in our brand.
The seriousness and everything.
Yes.
So as you're doing all this, I mean, again, the beginning, because by the time you start to, invite your customers, your clientele, remember, yours is a service.
Yes.
You're not showing them brick and mortar structures and say, I have this and that, or this is where the farm is of maize.
That's right.
Did you have any structure in place as yet, as a company, the plan and that kind of thing? Because sometimes we see entrepreneurs, they're saying, I will not start because I don't have a plan. My budget is not yet done. I don't have a structure and that kind of thing. What was it like at that particular moment?
When I made the decision when I saw that the company that I was working for was getting problems and was running down, and decided to move out and start on my own, I didn't have anything. I didn't have any plan. But because I had a few customers that had trusted me, I started using one of the shops for my brothers as an office. And I would keep my important things he gave me a locker where I would put people's passports, a few things that I would use in the travel, and then I would go sit there, organize my stuff, and then deliver the tickets, then go to the embassy. So I didn't have an office at the time.
But you had the software, you knew
I knew the system, because all I needed to do was me being in position to pick people's calls that were desiring of a service, and then I would connect with the airlines. I didn't even have an office. I would call, I made friends with the airlines, with the people in the airlines, and I would call them directly that I've gotten a booking, please do it for me.
Beautiful. Hold it there. Ronald, on this show, and I think it's a tagline for Enterprise Uganda, begin where you are.
Exactly.
Sometimes when we talk about that, a number of people, look at it as wishful thinking or motivational speaking, so to speak. But I see quite, that coming out quite strongly in Hilary's submission.
Yeah.
Because, she didn't have anything and is there. Then there's the aspect of referrals. I want you to speak to those two aspects.
No, I think on the first point of beginning where you are, the first thing is to appreciate is that there is somewhere you are.
Yeah.
You can't be in space. You are somewhere.
Yes.
And I think from Hilary's story we see that many times it's about the seriousness you give. Your brother, you talk to your brother who owns a shop and says, can I put my locker in the corner? Now, your brother will say yes. He may not even charge you rent. But the point is that you need to appreciate that that is where you are.
Yeah.
And you need to treat that as an office and say that, you know what, I will keep the documents of my client safe. You are in the travel industry. If you have taken someone's passport, if you lose a passport, it's actually quite a big problem. And that news will spread very quickly in the industry that you are not a reliable person. So you need to find a way of keeping it safe. But the truth is that doesn't mean you need to rent a room and put a security guard outside. You may have to start with a locker, and that is okay. You take it and say that I'll make sure it is locked, I'll make sure it is in a safe corner, I'll make sure I check with my brother every evening that he has locked the shop so that my documents are safe. But you have to start with those. And you will notice that those are the questions, and those of the young people who are listening, those are the questions our families want to hear from us. How can I give you a hand up? Because you can't go to your brother and say, you know what, Kampala is tough today, you give me 20,000 and I eat lunch, isn't it?
True, true.
And your brother gets more excited when you come and say, I want a locker in the corner. Because that means that in his future cash flows, you are starting to be eliminated. He's no longer worried about you. He's saying, this man, if his business works out, at least I won't have to give him 10,000 for lunch, isn't it? So the young people have to appreciate that those are the questions people want.
Yeah.
That uncle of yours who runs a business, you can go to him and say, give me 50,000 shillings. Or you can go to him and say, I see you have an empty parking yard here. Can I put my items in that corner? The moment you say that, most family members will say yes. And they say yes not just for you but also for themselves. Because they are saying this is a young person who is emerging from this challenge. So it's important to say that, what kind of questions am I asking my family members? What kind of platforms am I asking them to give me? If you are the kind of person who every time you're meeting the family member, you say, give me 20, give me 10, give me, they start avoiding you. You call and say, are you at the shop? You say, no, I'm not at the shop. I'm not there, I'm not around. But when you come and say, can I put my locker in the corner, then they see you coming, you put a first document, you pick another, they see you running in, they start noticing, and then you announce. The best announcement I believe the brother had is that now I have got my first office. I am taking my locker away. The man says, this is good news. Now we have one less problem in the family. We can be able to this man has progressed. So that is a key message which I picked there. And then on the question of referrals, we need to notice that as a young person, all you have is possibly your name and what people say about you. You don't have capital. You possibly don't have assets. Your name is what you have. So the first person who said that Hillary helped me on a trip to China and it worked out perfectly, if he said that conversation as he had tea, breakfast somewhere in Nabugabo, says, there is a young man who I know. He helped me with a trip in China. I came back safely, was very good. That's the asset which Hillary has. The referral is your key asset. That is why you need to make sure you are doing an excellent job. You don't do an excellent job to just get the money on this job. It is your deposit into the next job. It is your deposit into the next assignment. So the moment you treat a customer in a way that they give a negative referral, it is very expensive to your business. Because if you treated them badly, then this person will say, who are you working with? No, that one, avoid that one. He's very troublesome. This is what he caused me. So you need to understand that if you're starting a business, the referrals are the key thing. And now where do referrals start? Sometimes referrals start with the people who are closest to you, your family members. What are they saying about you? Are they saying that you made them a cake and it was a good cake? Now the fact that I'm your brother and I order for a cake from your bakery, it doesn't mean that you should give me a lousy job because I'm your brother. Because the moment they ask me that who can make the cake, I'll say, that man's cake, you take it at your own risk. It might be a cake, but I don't know. The moment that's your brother is giving that kind of referral, you are in trouble. But if it's your brother who is posting on his status that the cake which Hillary made for me was perfect, this is my brother's number, then you have started moving. So treat every customer. Don't say that this is a more important customer than the other. Your first customer may pay you just an amount which helps you break even. You haven't even made a profit. But if he gives you a referral, he has given you the profit on that job.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Hillary, coming back to you, today, I know you touched a little of this in the montage. What do you count as your, big achievements out of this business?
Having attained the status where I would employ myself, and the experience that I've gathered over time, over the years that I've done that business, is what is paramount, because I've seen that the material accumulations can go. You can lose everything and go back to zero. I was telling people that in our business, we woke up when they closed for COVID, it is comparable to a fisherman who has been fishing for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you wake up in the morning, going for your routine, going to the lake with your boat and nets, ready to fish, and then you find when the lake has been cordoned off.
Or it has dried off.
When it has dried off and there's nothing, and you get stranded when you don't know where to begin. But I was telling people that when everything happened, I looked at the assets that I had at the time, the knowledge, the exposure, the networks, the skills that I had acquired over time, because those are the ones that I can carry with even when I'm in the grass, when I'm back in the trenches. So the greatest achievement that I've gained is the networks of people. I was very lucky that I interacted and got to meet very good people who wished me well and were interested in mentoring me and nurturing me and guiding me on seeing how I can grow to become a proficient businessman.
Beautiful. Now, talking about the change or that switch of events and the way the trends were in business.
Yes.
Of course, we've had your mainstay is the business community, the traders, so to speak, in what some might call downtown, and probably, expanding it to other areas, but within that particular space. What exactly happened? I mean, what changed in the way, these people would take your services or would do business?
After COVID?
After COVID, that rewrote the principles of your business operation.
You see, we had started venturing out. We ventured out in other businesses in trying to find survival.
Okay.
But then, like 2 weeks ago, I decided to go and visit some of our clients and just check on them and find out how they're faring and what is happening with them. And I got to interact with this particular client who told me that for him, he had become comfortable doing business the way it is when he has to order things online and not having to travel directly to China every time. And this is a person that used to buy tickets from us like 12 times in a year. Every month he would travel. And it was necessary for him to travel at the time. But because now they are adapted, they were forced to adapt. Now they've become comfortable doing business online, making their orders, and he's saying that now, even when he goes to, when he used to go to China, he would go and move around and end up buying things that come here and be dead stock, because he would meander around with and be confused on the decisions of which merchandise to buy. But now, he only orders those things that are required by the market. He doesn't have to go through the hassle of boarding a plane, and he can comfortably receive his merchandise when he's at his shop, just using his phone.
Wow.
So which means that now, if we are setting out to revamp the business,
You have to think differently.
because things have changed.
We'll get to that. Viewers, you can be part of this discussion. I'm going to ask my producer to flash that number, the WhatsApp number on screen, so that you can forward us your questions and comments. But even as they do that, I want to come to you, Ronald, on that, because he raises quite critical points there. I mean, you have the times when, okay, for lack of a better word or expression, things are moving in the physicals, analog. You know, a trader wants something in China, they have to go there physically. And then your business is dependent on you facilitating that movement.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this trader, he just clicks and things happen.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know what you pick from that and what we can package for the viewers, because it's not just him. These things seems to have spread to different, industries and businesses.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you can just do that as, we near our break.
Okay. Super. Great. I think it has been quite a roller coaster for a number of businesses, and travel is a very good example. And I think the point which Hilary makes is kind of illustrates if I used to travel to China to buy items, and now I can be able to order them online. And the trust for order online has been built to a point that I am comfortable to send $20,000 to China. That is a big game changer, especially for a business whose business model was built on the business community. So kind of your core customer base is the business community who are traveling to be able to do business, and this has happened. So that many businesses have faced that, and they have had to live with that reality. But I think what is key is to notice that actually that is the nature of business. Just when you are settling in and saying things are comfortable, then all of a sudden something happens, and we have seen it. Technology is usually a very good. I mean, you think about the meetings which have been replaced with the Zoom meetings. Before every meeting, you had to go to a hotel and you would sit and you have a what? A meeting. But now organizations are starting to say that, can everyone log on Zoom? And they're noticing that actually you can even put up your hand, you can speak, they take records of all your comments, the meetings, the attendance sheets are already done, and the technology has done that.
And I can see the guys who used to take minutes in meetings.
Yes, the people were, yes, I mean, if you take minutes, people will tell you, no, the thing is within the what?
It's being recorded.
It's being recorded, it's within the system, we even have the recording. Yes. So the point is that, what does that mean to your hotel? Where you had built a model that I'm going to get at least 2 workshops per week. Now you are noticing that you're even struggling to get 2 per month. But because this has happened, and what the business person needs to start with is to appreciate, to know that it has happened. As a business person, you need to know. I think Hillary is clear on what has happened to his business. He knows that this has happened. Now, the dangerous thing is for the business person not to know. That to kind of keep moving and hoping that things haven't changed. And this is a lovely little book called Who Moved My Cheese? And in there, the argument is that if the cheese has gone, you need first of all know that the cheese has gone. So the business person needs to know. And then the business person needs to take up a startup attitude. You'll notice that most businesses are willing to experiment most when they are starting. When Hillary is starting, when you call him when you are in Mukono, he says, no, Mukono I cover, don't worry, I'm on my way. I'll jump on a board, I will come. But when he settles and gets comfortable, that my business is between Kampala Road and Kisenyi, that's my business. When you call him and tell him I'm somewhere here in Masaka, he says, Masaka people know. Masaka we don't do, there I don't go. Now, that is comfort zone. But when this happens, Hillary has to return to startup mode. Now, startup mode is where you are saying which doors are available for me to check. And you'll notice that if you have been in business for 15 years, it's very difficult. They start noticing that you are attacking businesses you never used to attack. You are experimenting with things you never used to experiment with. Now, what are we saying? We are saying that in events like that we have gone through, like COVID, which have changed the business dynamic, you need to return to your startup self. And returning to your startup self is going back to the beginning of the business, and you pull back that energy and you say, I'm willing to try. Some people are going to try within the same sector. Some people are going to have to cross out of that sector and start in a completely fresh sector. But you still have the entrepreneurial muscle. Because you have this experience of 10 years, it won't be as difficult as someone who is starting for the first time. But you need to make sure you appreciate that I may be a startup again. And I think we said in the last show that being a startup again is taking customers who you never used to take seriously. If I came to Hillary and said, I want to organize for me a trip to Rwanda, he'll say, my man, Rwanda, what are the costs? That's a job which I won't do, because I deal with people going to China, people going to the UK. But at this moment, when I come to him and say, I am going to Rwanda, he says, Rwanda I take very seriously. He gives me his full attention to be able to do that. So the startup mode needs to return.
Indeed, indeed. Viewers, again, you've seen that WhatsApp number on screen. You can send us your question or comments as we delve into this discussion, a very critical discussion, because, like Ronald here has rightly put it, when startup mode. We are rebooting, in other words. Now, you raise a very important point. Again, I want to allude to what Hilary said, and I want you to put it in context. But maybe we can do that after this very, short commercial break. But it's on the issue of what is important. He mentioned a very critical aspect about the achievements he has. Many a time our achievements are in brick and mortar. And sometimes it becomes a bit hard to get back to startup mode if indeed your main achievements are there, especially if you're in the services industry.
Yes, yes.
But we'll get into it after this very short commercial break. It's still the Business X-Ray.